What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with the next episode of Educate and Dominate, the one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names of the game and get their insights so we can bring your game to the next level. My next guest is somebody that I'm sure you guys have heard about here, coming up from the New York Regionals, one of the finalists. We have ourselves Mr. Chuffles, representing the guild Malicious. How are we doing today, boss?
Pretty good, pretty good. Only took two. Not bad, not bad. I'm good. I'm good.
We have ourselves Malicious representing my life. Oh!
Malicious representing Chuffles. Good.
All right. We're doing pretty good.
Everyone knows.
Now everybody knows. So again, guys, if you guys haven't seen enough of my videos, there's a 92% chance that I generally fail the intro, trying to give
Always
you guys
at the end.
Always at the end, right? Trying to give you guys that hype, but it is what it is, man. I love it. I love it, Chuffles, for putting me on blast. I appreciate it, sir.
I'm good. I'm a little cold because my room is freezing, but other than that, I'm good.
Right on, man. So again, guys, if you are sitting under a box, then you probably don't know what's going to be going on right now. But again, Chuffles is coming on board, just fresh off the New York Regional Finals, hitting that top 2 rank. Is going to be coming on over to LA for the World Arena Championships. It's going to be going down on November 25th. So what we're going to be talking about today is, of course, the recent event that he just took part of, a little bit of his experience, as well as some of the RTA strategy that he implemented, some of those controversial decisions or picks, and take a look at some of his units in his monster box that potentially could be a huge threat coming up here in this upcoming November. So let's get right into it, my man. When it comes to this particular tournament, obviously super big, first time around doing this thing. Tell me a little bit about your experience at the New York Regionals.
Honestly, it was really, really fun. And when I say that, I mean, it's not like I was going in with the expectation to win, right? I don't think anyone could feasibly go. Well, actually, maybe Tiger, but maybe Tiger. But for most people, it was just a great event where you could meet other people who share similar passions as you, right? So we met the 16 contestants. We had dinner with them like a few times. Everything was like paid for by Com to us. So I mean, altogether, it was just a great hangout, if anything. Winning was just, it was like the cherry on top.
Right.
But I think it was just really great to meet everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And when I was thinking about my personal experience, obviously I didn't get a chance to go to LA Regionals, but I want to give you not put you on blast, but give you a shout out here.
Right.
At the Mobile Masters, guys, that was my first opportunity to do the commentating and be a part, of some kind of big event. And, obviously I met, a ton of great people out there, but the first one that actually came up to me to introduce himself was in fact this man that's sitting right here, which is blows my mind because again, I obviously I have a lot of respect for you, sir, and for you to find the time to say hi and say, hey, what's going on, man? It really meant the world to me. So it just kind of goes to show, talking about what he was saying, that everybody that came on board, hanged out with us, extremely, genuinely nice people, great people, that it was really fun to be around and just get to know each other, develop those relationships that much further. So it was
I totally agree. I think like everyone might have their online personas or whatever, but when you get together in a group, everyone's super friendly, everyone's super nice. And it's just, for me, that's the reason we play this game, right? And it's not to grind dungeons every day, but the communal aspect, the guilds or whatever, that's the most fun part, in my opinion.
Most definitely. Outside of the event, one of the things that you do is obviously you're a Twitch streamer. Not something that you do all the time, but every so often you bust it out there. If you guys haven't checked them out, twitch.tv/Chuffles. Super cool to check them out. One of the things that you do, despite what people think you may not do, is actually take the time to help people out, provide advice, from a person with your experience and whatnot. So my question to you is, for all the people that have come at you, especially after this recent event, I'm sure you got a lot of people like talking to you and be like, hey, help me out with this, help me out with that. What are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing with people that are really looking to get into either Guild Wars or RTA? I think more importantly RTA now, that you're just seeing like common with regards to their situation with their monster box.
It's funny because I think more people have come to me about Guild Wars defense advice than like RTA advice, even though I have like the worst Guild War defense in Malicious. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But in general, I think that for a lot of people, RTA is kind of discouraging when they don't, say, have like the best monsters, if they don't feel like their runes aren't good enough. I can totally understand that. Like I can see how it would be super frustrating to fight like Gani, Wusa, Okeanos, Molong all day if you don't have those units. You just feel like, oh, what can I do against these guys? Um, but I think the biggest thing that holds people back is a lack of understanding of their monster box. And when I say that, I mean they don't understand how their monsters work together synergistically, unless like someone were to straight up tell them. But I think a good starting point is if you want to get into RTA, you kind of have to understand what you can do with the monsters that you have.
Yeah.
Like if you have the Gani, Wusa, Molong, the Okeanos, the Hathor, the Sierra, the Vela, sure, okay, it's a lot easier for you. But if you don't have all these units, you have to make it work other ways. Like you have to use monsters to fill those gaps. So I think being open-minded, being able to understand what units complement each other is a really big boost for whatever you're trying to do inside this game, even outside RTA. Like that's all this game is, right? It's
Yep.
just understanding how things go together.
Right. And I think I couldn't agree more with you because of the fact of what you kind of mentioned, just working with what you got. And this is something that maybe some people didn't really pick up, right? When we think about RTA, endgame RTA, there's a handful, maybe anywhere from like 12 to 15 top tier double S, triple S units that people consider that are just,
Right.
you have to have them to make it work. Well, one of the things that you guys may be looking at here, if you guys see it right now, is that there is no Ganymede, there is no Wusa, which is two, contested picks at this particular event here. So, that just kind of goes to show that if you understand your monster box, like Chuffles stated, and if you got the runes to back up your strategies, you could do really well. Talking about that rune aspect of strategy, one of the things that really got brought on board is that aspect of speed and what you kind of bring. So most people, I'm thinking a lot of people in the upper echelon of like the community, some of this community kind of knew, but for you on your aspect, you actually have one of the most fastest kind of monster boxes, and that's just one of the things that you've done quite well with regards to your runes.
Um, yeah, I think for a long time I was known as like the Bernard guy because I don't know, that was just it. I think nowadays like people have caught up a lot more, especially with re-up stones and whatnot, and I'm sure like there are a lot of people like faster than me even. But yeah, I would say my strategy entirely depends on me going first and outspeeding the guy. So yeah, I agree with that.
Gotcha. And so, with regards to your main strategy, obviously, the preparing for a particular tournament is completely different than what you generally will fight up in there. You have your certain
Right.
comps that do really well with regards to just regular RTA gameplay, but then you have units that you kind of busted out with regards to the tournament. Can you kind of give us a brief overview on maybe your top five monsters to use in your regular gameplay, and then talk about some of the monsters that were really important for you with regards to this past tournament?
Well, in regular gameplay, you mean like regular, like queuing up against randoms, right?
Right. Right.
So in in that scenario, my top five go-to is always Sierra, Perna, um, Veladjul, Ethna, and Tiana. So I say that because it covers a lot of bases really well. So in regular, when you're just queuing up against random people, there's always going to be those people who Lucian you, right? So that team will beat that team. That team, the Ethna Sierra Perna combo does really well against Gani because presumably they're going to ban Tiana, right?
Right.
So even if they ban Tiana, usually I'm going to go first because my Vela's on Swift. Not right now, he's not on Swift because he doesn't have runes, but
Right.
he's on Swift.
Nice runes,
So
bro.
thanks, buddy. I worked hard for those stats.
There it is.
Where was I? But the idea that you can move first, Ethna can either strip someone or AoE defense break, depending on how many will runes they have. And Sierra can definitely, assuming she doesn't miss her bombs, Sierra can hopefully incapacitate somebody. It's just really powerful starting a match in a 3v4. So that's my go-to. It's just move first and try to cripple some units.
Right, and that's one of the things that I think people go back and forth about it. The aspect of trying to play the clock versus getting aggressive. I was just talking to you on the side about one of the LA regional winners, Sai.
Yes.
that was actually, a very, very aggressive player, very versatile player, but very aggressive by heart, by nature. So it was really cool to see two of you guys that are naturally in that style of play coming up here because, for people that may not be tuned into my Educate Dominate, the first one that we got going on here for the year 2017, we ended up bringing on board Syntech, who at that time was the number one
Right.
player. And if you guys ever remember him, he was generally a person that played the clock. He picked certain monsters that just took the time and did well over time. He wasn't trying to kill people first turn. He allowed other people to sometimes get the first turn and just essentially let his composition do work after that. So tons of different strategies that people can employ, and so that's why I was pretty hyped up to see you guys' style of gameplay. So with respect to the other question, talking about some of the monsters that you were very, very unique for you, I think probably the one
At the event, right?
Yeah, at the event.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Ethne has to be in that category of people like, wait a second, have you heard about Chuffles, Ethne? Like, what's going on?
I actually didn't get to use Ethne as much as I like.
Sure.
Because I think people kind of knew that I loved Ethne, so they picked a lot of like super fire heavy teams that I couldn't draft Ethne in. But I think Ethne is really good. Like, I think Ethne is it's similar to Molong in a way because they both have the strip and they're both very offensive units. Like when you use Ethne or Molong, you're aiming to kill units.
Right.
So I think it's similar in that regard. She does really well against the water-heavy units, and she can turn cycle so fast with her second skill. So to me, Ethne is great. But I didn't get to bring her out as much as I'd like to in New York, just because people picked around it. So.
Right. Speaking about Ethne, this is probably one of those monsters that, again, like it just didn't really come up in the meta until, a decent, I won't say a few months ago, but I mean, it's one of those things that people didn't really consider until people like yourself really like tested it out and use it to the full advantage. And one of the things that you mentioned is the aspect of the new mechanic on the second skill, the 2-turn skill that's going to provide you that attack bar increase if you have the critical rate here. So this is something that most people would be surprised. It's like, wait a second, I understand it's tanky, but you're not even running like, crit damage. You're actually focused on the aspect of generating the turns by means of your second skill with the critical rate to keep that rotation moving.
Well, Ethne is really low cooldown, right? So second skill it's 2 turn, third skill 3 turn or something. And the fact that you get 80% attack bar on turn 2 just means that you're going to be able to use your third skill so much more often. And her third skill multiplier is huge, like 960%, something really big. So you don't necessarily need attack. Plus, as RTA matches go on, like HP decreases, attack increases. So you're going to end up doing a lot of damage anyways. So don't feel like you need to focus on attack. And plus, if you're squishy, a Perna can just kill you like one shot. So then it kind of devalues her, right? Because the goal with Ethne is to make the fight last as long as possible, so you can just keep turn cycling, you can keep AoE despair stunning, and that's where the advantage comes from, right? So you want to make her. You don't need attack on her, not for RTA. I mean, it makes her worse for all the other aspects of the game. Like you might want her to do hella damage for Necro or something, but this is, in my opinion, the best RTA Ethne build.
There it is. I like it, sir. And kind of going on the line with the critical rate build, this is something that people kind of have gone back and forth when it comes to their oracles. More importantly, the Praha, as that's one of the monsters that is also, utilized in RTA when you need that buff strip or the heal or whatnot here. This is another one here that you're actually running the critical rate the critical rate rune on here. Now, is this something that you wanted to do because the subsets were obviously on point, or is this something that you're like, you know what, I'm looking to generate those turns over time?
I'm looking at turn generation. I actually first got the idea from either Flaw or Syntac, I can't remember who. So I'm running it on Sierra as well. I have crit rate on Sierra too. But the fact that the Oracles get 45% attack bar on skill 1 is actually like so good. Especially for Sierra, right? Because she gets another turn from her bomb. So what ends up happening is like she can cleanse off her own defense breaks just by being so fast. And Praha, her cooldowns are pretty long. So getting the turn cycling for the second and third skill is really important. So that's why I went crit rate. My Praha is on purely a RTA build right now. It's got really high resist, decently high defense, and really high crit rate. So with her leader skill, she gets to 100 resist, which is also really annoying for a lot of people. Right. So definitely intentional that I wanted the crit rate.
Gotta have it. You gotta have it here. So, one of the things that we got to talk about was some of the units that you like to utilize in an aggressive approach with regards to your compositions here. One of the things that I wanted to address with regards to the majority of the community out there that may not have all these premium monsters, if you had a recommendation for a particular team that if they had the runes, they could back it up with these units that are relatively common to get, what would that team be?
So there's actually two players now that come to mind. I know previously I said it was one, but there's two. So there's Blitz Aces. He was in, I think, the C tournament, like SEA tournament. Mm-hmm. He primarily climbed with well, I don't know primarily, but he climbed with Vela Jewel, Olivia, and then Amnesty Copper Bulldozer. So the idea was everything was everything was on Will, of course, but then the Olivia and the Amnesty were really, really fast. So if they didn't ban one of those, something was going to die on turn one. And then, 3v4 is always, as I said, it's always good for you. So he ran a primarily defense ignore comp. There's another player from, I don't know where, I think it's from France. I can't remember. His name's like Q or something. He climbs with, so he uses a speed lead. So he uses Sierra Faye. And then he runs Kabila Bastet, right? Both for the attack bar boost. And then he runs Kali Lucian. So presumably, if you ban the Bastet, he's going to move first. Okay, he's always going to move first. So you ban the Bastet, so then he buffs with Kabila, and then he buffs again with Kali, and then his Lucian gets an attack-powered amp. But if you ban the Kali, then he uses Bastet, and then he ignores all your units anyways. So that was also a really cheesy team, but it was really effective because it got him G3.
Yep.
But for those teams, it really comes down to how fast your slip sets are and how good your runes are. Because obviously, you can't do that with mediocre runes. But it really makes the fight quickly if you want to farm, and it's really effective against a lot of people.
Overlooking some of the monsters that you have here, there's a couple of unique ones that we saw that you were attempting to use by means of Antares, and then of course one that we saw, I think Goku used there in Garo.
Yeah.
Very underrated monsters, especially on this Antares side that people don't mess around with. Outside of this particular unit, is there any monsters that you felt that are pretty, to this day, even underrated and overlooked that people can utilize in RTA and probably do well?
I think my top three is probably Huadam, Antares, and Olivia. I don't think I have Olivia out right now because she's not ruined and I didn't get to use her at all. But Olivia is a really, really strong unit. So anytime you have a unit that does not care about being skill reset, it's probably a good pick for RTA. So Olivia, her skill cooldowns are really short. Her second skill is like a resurge. Mm-hmm. It's like Kona's resurge, right? Cleanses everything as well. So, and it's only on 2-turn cooldown. And it's really synergistic with Vela Jewel and Wind Panda especially because of the defense buff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if a unit is not afraid of Gani, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad how Gani kind of defines the meta right now.
Right.
If a unit is not afraid of Gani, he or she, whatever that unit is probably a really strong bet. So Antares especially, I'm really sad I didn't get to use him.
Right,
but
me too.
He was. I built him specifically for Syntac. I think he does really well, and Syntac knew that, of course. That's why he insta-banned it. He does so good against Gani, Tiana, Hathor. Those three, he can 100% solo that team. You just have to ban out whatever one of the last units, because when you fight the Gani, Hathor, Tiana team, they have no damage and they have no sustain. Their goal is to just keep you locked down, but they can't keep this guy locked down because the RNG will always get him a turn because they do so little damage. And his turns are so effective, especially since the games take so long, right?
Right.
With that sleep team, that he just becomes like Super Saiyan and he destroys them. Yeah. But again, kind of sad we didn't get to see him in action, but he is so good against Hathor, Tiana, Gani.
Right, and then the next one you're talking about too, Damn here. This was something that I did not think it was going to bust out, but you busted out here. I think it was Sierra, Villagel, Hodam, and Praha.
Yeah.
Those are the four main that
Yeah.
got played out. You got one. I forget which one was banned. I think it was Annabelle, right?
Um,
Annabelle got banned.
I
I think
can't remember.
Tiger banned Annabelle.
No, Tiger banned Amelia. I can't remember
Oh, Amelia.
what
Right. Okay.
Asian Republic banned, but I guess
Right.
it's not the point.
Right.
Yeah, so he does really well with Perna and Praha, right? Obviously, because like the AoE heal from Praha like basically tops up everyone, and Perna keeps healing this guy, so it's really annoying. But I picked him specifically against. I tried to pick him against Molong a lot because it pretty much nullifies Molong's third skill. Either Molong third skills this guy, and this guy is like a hella HP, right? So Molong might not even be able to kill this guy, and it seriously cripples Molong because Molong would have to sacrifice so much of his HP. So you don't want to hit this guy, but Molong can't third skill any other guy because he'll just flood ammo to save them. So I think it's a really strong pick against Water Panda specifically, and it works really well with the Praha Perna, as I said before. So it works well with what I usually tend to pick.
Right. It's a pretty interesting monster, and it just makes me that much more jealous that I don't have one after what works so well for you.
Actually, I think it's really funny. I think we talked about this in our last Educate and Dominate, and I made the same joke. I was like, tell YDCB that or something. We were talking about Wadam. I remember talking about Wadam.
We clowned him. We clowned him. We were giving him a hard time about that. I do recall that. And I think to this day, he still does not have
He still doesn't have one. It's been almost a year.
Oh, man.
Maybe next time.
Swipe the visa just a little bit harder and you'll get it, okay?
Yeah. Maybe next time we do one of these, he'll have one.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to think about the current aspect of season 2. I mean, of course, it's already over. I want to take a step back here with regards to your thought process now, seeing it overseas. A lot of people were kind of not too sure what to expect with regards to that violent aspect. Being nerfed to one turn and whatnot here. Going on the line of where we're at now and what you've kind of seen and how the RTA tournaments revolved around. Like, I'm personally pretty excited, or I'm pretty pleased with how the things turned out with the violent procs. What was your take on that all change?
I think especially probably due to the violent nerf, especially now we have a good even mix of swift runes, violent runes, and despair runes. I think are the primary ones, and I think that's really healthy. You don't want one rune set dominating the PvP end. I know some people make it work with only swift sets. Some people probably rely more on violent sets, but I think overall, we got a good healthy mix of all the runes now. Gotcha.
And so going on the line of not just the runes but the stats, one of the things that you were mentioning on your particular monsters is you're focused on what certain monsters have the critical rate or the speed or whatever. But if you take a look at some of these monsters that we were looking at, the resistance is on point. So this is one of those controversial topics that's been argued back and forth about should you focus on resistance, should you not? If you got the will, does it even matter? I think one of your guildies, Popo Panda, may have something to say about that. Rocket that win Panda here with resistance that got him the unclosed win that no one got to see there. So
his Panda is no joke. I think for the most part, resistance is really underrated, but it is it's not foolproof. And when I say that, it's because the Gani, the Okeanos, and the Wusa, they all have accuracy lead, which really, really hurts resistance users. I know for my Velajul, again, isn't ruined right now, but my Velajul also had really high resist for the tournament. May or may not have contributed to Syntac missing his Okeanos strip on me that first game. That was really critical. But yeah, I think the fact that 3 of the most popular RTA units have accuracy lead really hurts the resistance users, because it just kind of sucks how that works out. Like if they have 70 accuracy and you have 100 resistance, you're still probably not going to resist.
Right.
Like that's just how the odds work. But I think I knew when I went to New York, not that many people had those units, luckily. So I was willing to rune them with more resistance to hopefully get those RNG resists.
Gotcha. And so with regards to the current meta and the monsters that are being utilized all the much, do you think that's something that Comptos needs to consider, or can they even consider, because the meta currently changes? Should they look at other monsters changing like the leaders go around to have a little bit more balance of resistance versus accuracy leads?
Um, well, on the flip side, I think a lot of like really annoying RTA monsters also have resistance lead.
Yeah.
So primarily, I'm thinking Hathor and Light.
Right.
They both have huge resistance leads, but I think maybe if you took resistance, I don't know if this is like even possible, but if they balanced around removing accuracy lead from one of those units between Wusa, Gani, Okeanos, that'd probably bring slightly more overall balance to the meta, because right now accuracy leads are kind of overpowering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when it comes to either runes or stats, I mean, we talked about the underrated and overlooked units. Is there a particular rune that you would think that still people don't consider? Or I think endgame for you guys is pretty. I mean, it's pretty kind of understood, like what you guys are, utilizing. But with respect to maybe some of the people that are coming up in the ranks, climbing up here, what maybe one of the rune builds or rune sets that they don't utilize all too much that they probably should.
So for this, I feel like there's two boats. Okay, so there's the boat which I'm in, which I feel like will runes you have to have will runes,
Right.
in my opinion, right? And then you have the other people who I know Flaw and Syntax primarily don't use will runes, and they'll say, oh, you don't necessarily need will runes, but this is just my opinion. I think will runes are paramount, especially in RTA, because they force Ganymede to have to get that additional turn to reset one of your monsters, assuming that he gets the strip with his first skill. So I think that's probably the biggest reason you need will runes. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
Right.
That will runes are important.
Well, how about this though? For a player like yourself, like Sai, a player that knows that they're going to be bringing a crazy amount of speed, that is probably going to get that first turn.
Yes.
Right. Ultimately, you have to mix and match there. So if you know that you're going to get the first turn, no matter what, obviously not going to be every time, but you know what I'm saying. Like you're gonna have that opportunity to get the first turn. I mean, is will that important to you? Could you go for some more effective HP or whatnot, or something to assist your type of style of play, whether it be like straight YOLO, straight burst damage, or crowd control, more accuracy?
Mean, even if you always nobody always gets the first turn, is what I mean.
Sure. Okay.
Right. So I think for general RTA, when you're just queuing against randoms, I don't think it's safe to always assume you're gonna get the first turn, especially when you're really high rank, right? Let's say you're like high G3. Most of the time you're fighting G1s. Eventually you're going to get outsped. And if you get outsped and you just lose because you don't have will runes, that sucks.
Right.
That you lose so many points because of something that you could have accounted for. So I think just to be safe, like when you're competing against random RTA players, I think you definitely need to cover as many bases as possible, because ranking high in just the RTA ladder isn't really about who you can beat. It's more about how often do you lose to people who are worse than you.
Interesting.
Because,
elaborate on that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because Kamto's matchmaking right now, right? It's not always trying to pair you with someone the same skill level. So especially when you get higher and higher up, just forget it. You're not fighting a G3 like all day. Like that's not going to happen. Every day you're like probably 90% of the time you're fighting G1 or like G2 at best. So if you really want to climb, you have to just focus your strategy on being able to make your team as foolproof as possible against those players. Like, I'm not saying that what they use is different, but you want to make sure you can protect yourself against cheesy strategies. If they have like a super fast Kabila and they want to YOLO you first turn, you have to be able to defend against that. So I think having will runes is part of it, right? Because if you have will runes, then they have to bring that they have to bring another level of monster. They have to bring strippers or whatever to counter you. Right. It just puts more pressure on them.
I like it. Well said, sir. Well said. And of course, like you were talking about with regards to the preparation aspect, it's extremely important, because you know what kind of strategies or people are trying to bring that you're going to be fighting up in. You have to prepare for just about anything. Considering that, obviously you are one of the finalists to be coming down here in November. You made a comment, off camera, that you kind of prepared for certain compositions, certain players or whatnot.
Yes.
As in this particular instance, we're going to have a different a set of players that have different monsters. More importantly, like the Ganymede and the Gianna here. So, how do you think you're going to be able to go about preparing for people like that?
Well, it's interesting there, because Oh, my Leo has super high accuracy. It's really important. Sorry, I just want to point that out.
Let's get it out there. Let it. Woo! That's what I'm talking
I love
about.
that rune.
This is what it takes to be a G3 player, ladies and gents. Take a
Yeah,
look.
you gotta run accuracy on Leo. That's
There
the
it is.
trick. I'm just teasing. Okay, yeah. So coming into New York, I wasn't necessarily like expecting to fight anyone, but I definitely wasn't expecting to come like top two, right? Because of Syntac and Tiger.
Right.
But in New York, I specifically prepared myself only for Syntac. So it was kind of like, for him, unfortunate that we fought round one. But
Right.
I prepared specifically for Syntac because I kind of felt like, I mean, since coming in, I was technically the third highest rank, I believe, right? So if I wanted to come top two, I would have to beat presumably Tiger or Syntac. So I prepared specifically for Syntac because I didn't feel like I could prepare for my guildie because you can see what I'm doing all the time, so it's kind of futile.
Right.
And I kind of relied on my like just runes and monster blocks to, I can beat those other guys. But going to LA, it's different because now I'm not ranked third. I'm like, God knows what rank I am, right? All those players are amazing.
Right.
So especially since we don't know who we're fighting until like the day of, like 10 minutes before we actually like go into a match, I don't think it's reasonable to be able to prepare for every single player there. So coming into LA, I don't think I'm gonna do specifically like player preparation. It's more so I need to prepare against like certain monsters or certain strategies. So I think like as of right now, what I'm thinking about is I need to prepare better against Gani and I need to prepare better against Gianna because going into New York, not a lot of people had Gani, luckily, and nobody had Gianna. But I know there are players at Worlds with Gianna, and like so many of those people have Gani. So that's probably going to be the name of the game going to LA, get better against those two units.
Gotcha. And God bless their heart. There's a ton of players that are going to be coming out where I cannot pronounce the names. Has there been anybody that you've seen from the recent regionals, whether it was Seoul, Tokyo, Paris? I mean, all the players out there that have recently won their position to go with you along with the worlds. Anybody that you're pretty excited about maybe going up against or anything like that?
To be honest, I haven't really watched them either.
Yeah.
So I'm not fully sure who the attendees are other than the people from LA. And but at the same time, I don't think there's any particular player I want to fight. In fact, I don't really want to fight any of them. They're all really good.
Right. Right.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. But I'm not super excited about any particular player. I think, yeah, it's gonna be really tough regardless. So, not really looking forward to that. But
Gotcha. And so, kind of getting back to what we were talking about with regards to the season two RTA and everything that has turned out. Now we're moving along with regards to season three. Everything that is kind of currently set in place, do you feel it's where it needs to be, or if you had something to say to comp to say, hey, you know what, I think this little bit of a tweak can make that much more of a better gameplay for all the viewers, let alone you guys top notch. What would that be and why?
Well, I don't know about like monster specific changes or anything, but I think overall they need more incentive for people to play RTA. Right now, you currently don't get anything for losing, and in season one, season two, in both seasons, like there was no G1 or there was no Conqueror 1 bracket. Like there were so few players that Conqueror 1 never existed. So you
Right.
really need a way to incentivize like even playing RTA. Because I know a lot of people like don't necessarily enjoy it, but it like at least same for arena, right? A lot of people don't enjoy regular arena, but the fact is that like you can farm stuff with it, and
Right.
it's just they need to do that with RTA. Like they need to give points for when you're losing, or they need to like make the rewards more enticing for players, right? Because right now, what a match could take like 10 minutes, and you might not even get points if you lose. So it's just a really long grind that might not even amount to anything. So
Yeah.
that's what I would change.
Yeah, definitely. Considering the fact that I'm so sad. I think after 3 years playing, or people have been playing for as long as I have, you would think that I would have my arena towers max. I unfortunately don't. I've been slacking.
Oh
When it
my
comes
God.
don't judge me.
No.
Oh my God, Chuffles, don't judge me, please.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that,
Dude,
man.
hey man, I got 5 kids to feed. No, I just got one. But no, real talk here. It's one of those things where now, when I realize all those particular instances where things get down to the wire, and I'm like, man, if I just had my speed tower. I mean, mind you, no, I'm just saying
Oh
this.
my God, no.
I got it. No, I got it. I got it. Calm down. If I'm just talking about the players in general, if I didn't have my speed tower max, if I didn't have that extra 25 critical damage, if I didn't have the extra 20% HP, 20%, you know, all that stuff. I mean, it's so crucial. You know, for this particular aspect of the game, right? We're talking about endgame RTA. Everybody's doing everything they can to maximize, you know, what they're trying to bring. So that's something to consider. Now, getting in line, staying in line with that thought process here. We're about to, you know, close out the video. Obviously, we already talked about, you know, making the best of what you got with the guns you use. If there was that last thought, that last take-home message that you wanted to give to your Summoners War community, what would that be?
Oh, putting me on the spot.
Boom.
I think right now, especially, this is mostly focused towards the more like competitive aspect of RTA, I guess. Right now, it's come to us as like first time doing something like this. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of issues, I'm not gonna lie. Right. But I think people shouldn't judge them too harshly based on what's happened so far. Because if you notice, every event is getting better, right?
Yes.
There were a lot of problems with LA. There were problems with New York, but I think Paris was quite decent from what I've heard, anyways, right? So I think it's important that like we as the community, like, not all like, it's fine to give them criticism. Yeah, I think it's definitely good that we call them out for what they're doing wrong. But I think it's important that we're also like patient with them to get all their stuff sorted, and hopefully like events like this will be better in the future.
Most definitely. I'm excited to see not just, you know, the turnout with regards to finals. Obviously, with everybody coming across the world, it should be great. But I'm just kind of excited for what is to come, you know, down the road. I mean, with everything that's happened this far, I can't even imagine how many more tournaments that they're going to have for the community, just so that we can continuously make it bigger.
I was actually talking about this with my guildies yesterday. Like, you know, they're like releasing some like 3v3 guild battle or something. Have you heard about that? Yeah. We were talking about, like, could you imagine if they found a way to make that competitive? Like, just like, I think that's cool.
That'd be super cool. Getting all the guilds out in different places, repping them, wearing the jerseys,
the shirts. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
So I think Comtuous is taking the game in a good, I guess, a good direction, an interesting direction. I don't know if this is like ultimately what the game will be able to, you know, support, because I know there are a lot of comments like, you know, Summoners War can't be competitive, and to a degree, I totally agree. Like, I don't think that it's fair that people have access to different units, different runes, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think for the moment they're doing pretty good with what they have. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And so I know that there's been a couple people, you know, top end, you know, G3 players and whatnot that have kind of shared their thought process on maybe some of the types of tournaments or kind of things you can run. I know Fawaz, you know, kind of voiced his opinion about that. So hopefully they take a little bit of, you know, everybody's, you know, topic on that, so that they can make it a little bit better. Or at least if they want to keep the RTA, maybe they can incorporate different types of game modes that can make it a little bit more balanced, a little bit more fun for everybody. So
I agree.
Most definitely. So I think that's going to be it, my man, as far as this episode of Educate Dominate. I want to thank you once again for coming on board for not one, but the second time.
Yeah, no worries.
To do this video, man. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, dude. It's always nice talking to you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you as well. Once again, guys.
Wait. Fun fact. Childish is so buff in real life. It's actually crazy.
Oh my God. No, you didn't. Hold on a second. Oh,
it's actually
my face is getting a little
crazy.
Red right now. Can you guys see this?
We were at Korean barbecue. You like walked out of the washroom and oh my God, like everyone had to. It was crazy. He's so buff.
Wow.
Fun fact.
Oh, fun fact. Oh man, good times. Well, I try to do my best to stay in shape, not just physically but mentally, because I'm gonna need to practice here.
Always good.
In 4 weeks' time, because I ain't gonna lie. I know a lot of people that they got the. Like, some of them are excited to see the gameplay. You know, for myself, Claytano, Koopa, anybody that's going to be involved in the commentating aspect, like, we got our homework to do when it comes to these particular people and understanding, you know, what kind of things they could potentially bring, considering what they've laid out thus far in the previous tournaments. So, I couldn't be more excited again for the opportunity come to us. Thank you again for allowing us to do everything, and of course bringing on board so many people, so many competitors out here to do these events. So super cool, super cool. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Once again, guys, twitch.tv/it's Chuffles. If you want to get a piece of that G3 action representing the guild Malicious there, definitely stop on by. Is there any specific time that you generally like to do your stream, or is it just kind of on the fly?
I stream like once a month.
Once a year? Yeah, once a year, bro.
So infrequent.
Okay.
I don't think, yeah, it's probably tough to try to get in touch with me, like, through tuning into my stream, because those are super infrequent, just due to the nature of, like, I'm always, like, moving around between cities, and I'm busy and whatnot. So if you want to, like, contact me or whatever, just send me a message on either Reddit or Twitch. I think my Reddit's, like, just Chuffles.
Chuffles, yeah.
That's probably the best way to reach me. Aside from that, it's all good. It's been great.
Alrighty. Well, that's going to be it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish and Chuffles with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you in the next episode of Educate and Dominate. We're out.